Yo, what up everyone? The final tier list video is done. This time I'm telling you my opinion on what the best secondaries currently are. I will split this video into single slot and medium slot weapons. Before we jump into the tier list, I want to mention that this tier list is based on my opinion and my personal in-game experiences. Every weapon in this game can be put to work and you're able to secure a win with it. I'm simply telling you which guns, in my opinion, are the most competitive and why. For me, when it comes to secondaries, the most important task is for them to balance out my main weapon's weakness, or bring in exceptional amount of utility to my loadout. For example, when I'm playing a shotgun, I'm looking for a weapon that is strong at medium to slightly longer ranges, since my shotgun's weakness is a limited range. And when I'm running a bolt action rifle, I would prefer a reliable short range option as my secondary by either a reliable one shot or a high fire rate. But first let's take a look at single slot secondaries. We're gonna start at the bottom and work our way all the way up to the S tier. The gun pistol lands in the E tier all by itself due to multiple reasons. First of all, it doesn't have a high fire rate, it doesn't have a good drop-up range, and on top of that, it doesn't even have a good velocity. It is fairly decent with fanning, I gotta admit, but apart from that, it has nothing going for it and there are much better fanning options out there. Moving on to the D tier, we are starting off with a gun silencer. While it is technically weaker than the default gun pistol, I think it does bring a lot of utility to your loadout if you want to deal with AI especially. It can be quite helpful to, for example, take a hive out without making noise, or AI in general. Next one is the Scottfield. The default Scottfield is not a bad pistol, but its other variants simply outshine it, and that is why it is currently in the D tier. It is fairly decent with fanning, and overall is a solid pistol, but in comparison to other pistols, it just simply cannot be ranked higher than the D tier. The Scottfield Brawler is the same as the Scottfield, has worse sway for fanning, but for that it has a knuckle duster attachment which helps you dealing with AI, can be helpful, but would rather go with other melee variants if you would like to do so. The next option, the Bornheim Silencer. The Bornheim Silencer is one of my personal favorites. You probably are surprised why it is in the D tier then, but the Bornheim Silencer doesn't deal a lot of damage, has a lot of damage drop off, not a very high velocity, and you will have to hit headshots. So while I personally really like it because I think it's funny to headshot people with a Bornheim Silencer, I do not think it's a necessarily good weapon, and even for AI I would rather take the gun silencer since the Bornheim has less ammo available. In the C tier we are starting off with the Bornheim. The default Bornheim is not a bad pistol, but it cannot two-tap. That is the biggest issue this pistol has, and it has a lot of recoil, so even triple tapping can be quite tricky, and it's more of a head clicker than anything else, but it doesn't do it significantly well either, and that is why it is in the C tier. The next weapon is the Conversion Chain Pistol. It sadly has to make it to the C tier. It looks like the perfect fanning pistol. Sadly it is not. It's actually the most inaccurate fanning pistol in the entire game. Might be in the same pool as the Scottfield Brawler. Would have to do the science on that. But I cannot recommend playing it. I would rather go with a normal conversion pistol, which we will see later on much higher in the ranking. The next pistol is the Sparks pistol. The Sparks pistol by itself is not terrible, but sadly it is a one-shot pistol. It can be quite useful to finish off enemies once you have downed them already in, for example, a Marathon or a Ranger Frontier aka Winfield loadout. But you have to make your shot count, and if you miss, you will probably not get to reload it before the fight is over. It can be kinda fun to meme with, but it cannot rank higher than the C tier since the options above it are simply better. The next weapon in line is the Bornheim Extended. While the Bornheim Extended has a higher magazine capacity than the default Bornheim, which seemingly would make it better, right? But it lacks one big issue. For the bigger magazine size, you are sacrificing the stripper clip reload, which is why, even though it looks better, it is not really better than the default Bornheim, and they land in the same category. The first weapon in the B tier is the Dolch Deadeye. While the Dolch by itself is a very strong secondary, the Dolch Deadeye with the Deadeye scope can be put to use. It is not terrible, but it is kinda awkward since the bullet drop range starts very early, so you will not get a lot of use out of the Deadeye scope, and on top of that it suffers from incredible sway, which can be counteracted by trades, but the whole weapon by itself is very hard to use, very expensive, and I would rather go for the iron sight variant. Next in line is the hand crossbow. The hand crossbow in my opinion is a very underrated weapon. First of all, the little bolt one-taps up to 19 meters to the chest, which makes it a very handy pocket shotgun in a lot of rifle loadouts, in case you would like one. And on top of that, it can bring so much utility to your loadout. You don't want to run a flare pistol or fuses, you could run a 50-50 with dragon bolts to burn every hunter that you have downed already. You can bring poison clouds to poison off enemies, to block entrances, to secure bodies. You can bring choke bolts if you don't want to run choke bombs. Burning at the moment is a big issue, so choke bolts definitely will help you to secure your teammates. And if you want, you can even troll around with the chaos bolts. Personally, I wouldn't bring them, but they can definitely be quite fun to use. The next weapon is the New Army. The default New Army is a very high fire rate secondary, which, if it wasn't for the low velocity, I would put into the S tier, but since it is a weapon you have to really get used to, and a lot of people struggle with a very low velocity, I put it into the B tier. The next weapon in the B tier is the New Army. While the New Army shines with incredibly high fire rate in combination with super low recoil, it sadly does have incredibly low bullet velocity, which makes it kinda hard to hit your shots once it gets into the medium to longer ranges, which is why I put it into the B tier. You will see the New Army Swift with the insta reload much higher, since with that weapon you can actually benefit a lot from the fire rate, but we will talk about that one later. Next in line, probably a surprise to a lot of people, but the uppercut. The uppercut used to be an S tier revolver, but with this patch the uppercut got nerfed significantly. What were the uppercut's strong suits in the past? It was the 126 damage, which allowed you to redown enemy hunters with a chest shot once they have lost even a small bar, and the incredibly long headshot range. Sadly, with this update, the uppercut has a bullet drop starting range of 65 meters, which means the reliable long range headshots are much harder to pull off. And on top of that, the damage got nerfed from 126 to below a redowning damage value, which means all the uppercut strong suits are gone and all the weaknesses are still here. The weaknesses have always been that the uppercut has a very slow reload time and a significantly lower fire rate than most pistols, while it also basically is impossible to be used with fanning. So currently, especially at that price point, I would not recommend playing the uppercut, even though it's one of my favorite secondaries of all time, and it hurts a lot to say that. The uppercut's era is over. You can still play it for nostalgia reasons, but there are much better options out there. Next in line is the Schofield Spitfire. The Spitfire is a high fire rate pistol, has medium ammo and packs a heavy punch. On top of that, you combine it with high velocity to gain even more long range capabilities. It's the strong secondary for shotgun and rifle loadouts at the same time. I can highly recommend you to give it a try if you're looking to go for a quick double tap or accurate headshots. The next contender is the PAX. I combined both PAXs in the same A tier, since for me they are the same pistol. It is a very strong fanning pistol, fairly accurate, more accurate than most pistols, super high fire rate on the fanning, and if combined with high velocity, always a good and solid secondary to rely on. Next weapon in the A tier is only in the A tier when combined with fanning, the Schofield Swift. Probably one of the strongest fanning pistols in the game, since you can empty it fully and reload the entire weapon within just a few moments due to the swift reload mechanism, which allows you to fan down 3 enemies in a very short amount of time and not be too hesitant when going for roamings. The next weapon is a classic, the conversion pistol. The conversion pistol is a fan favorite. It is cheap, reliable, and probably the #1 fanning pistol in the entire game. You should definitely give it a try. It is strong with normal ammo, FMJ, dum-dum ammo, whatever you put on it, you will probably enjoy it. New Army Swift. While the New Army by itself is in the B tier due to its low muzzle velocity, the New Army Swift has all the same stats, but the Swift reload mechanism allows you to really make use of that fire rate without getting punished for it. Let me draw you a picture. You play, for example, the Sparks or a Berthier. You take your enemy, they go behind cover, you put FMJ on your New Army Swift, and you just make it rain bullets. And as soon as you're out of bullets, you just reload and do it again. It is an amazing finisher weapon, and I can highly recommend it to give it a try in rifle loadouts. Starting off in the S tier. First weapon, to no surprise, is the Dolch. The Dolch deals a lot of damage, has FMJ bullets, a very decent drop range, a magazine size of up to 10 bullets, and a clipper strip reload. What else would you like out of your secondary? It is strong for close range and for medium ranges equally. The only downside is a hefty price point, but especially during this event, money comes by very easily once you start looting cash registers, so give it a try while the hunt dollars are keep coming. Next in line, the Officer Pistol. The Officer Pistol is basically the Dolch, but much cheaper and in compact ammo. High fire rate, very reliable, you should give it a try. It does everything the Dolch does, except having a stripper creep reload and a slightly lower fire rate. I can highly recommend it. Last but not least, we have the PAX 2-shot. The PAX 2-shot does what the uppercut used to do. It is very good at long ranges and going for those precise medium to long range headshots. Especially in combination with high velocity ammo, this weapon is an actual steal and should always be played over an uppercut in my opinion. Especially since you can combine it with fanning, and it is probably the most accurate fanning in the entire game. Sadly it lacks fire rate, but if you just wanna finish an enemy or go for some precise taps, this weapon is the one. And if you liked the uppercut before this update, like I did, you should definitely give the True Shot a try, since it 100% fills that niche and you will probably not even look back. Alright, now we move into the medium slots. In my opinion, Quartermaster is stronger than ever with this update. Especially with the recent buffs to shotguns and the addition of bullet drop, having a versatile loadout has become more important than ever. And Quartermaster makes that possible with ease. Starting off in the E tier, we have the gun precision variants. In my opinion, there's no reason to play them. They have a very slow fire rate, don't deal a lot of damage, and don't have a significant amount of range either. They're basically the gun pistol, just with a rifle buttstock on it. And even the Deadeye variant doesn't really help much when it comes to sniping, since there are better medium slots for a very similar price available. Next in line is the Squadfield Precision. It's also in the E tier for the exact same reason as in the gun pistol. Slow fire rate and basically is a default pistol with a rifle buttstock. The last weapon in the E tier is the Springfield Striker. The Springfield Striker as a single slot doesn't really shine when it comes to versatility, and sadly the Striker attachment is very disappointing as well and quite often doesn't even one-shot. Starting off in the D tier, we have the Uppercut Deadeye. Like you already heard, in the single slots secondary list, the Uppercut got nerfed heavily, and in my opinion with the incredibly early bullet drop starting range of 65 meters, the Deadeye scope on this weapon is fairly useless and you will rarely be able to actually snipe with this weapon, and I would simply not play it. The other weapon in the D tier is the Springfield Shorty. The Springfield Shorty is not terrible and you can definitely put it to work, especially in combination with dum-dum ammo, but due to it being a single slot, it does bring a lot of versatility to the table. I would rather go with other medium slot options. Starting off in the C tier, we have the Haymaker, also known as the Upper Mat. Sadly, this weapon suffers from the same nerfs as the Uppercut. It no longer one-taps to the chest once somebody has lost a bar, and while it has a higher bullet velocity than the Uppercut, apart from that, it also has a bullet drop starting point of 65 meters, so it can not rank any higher than the Uppercut Precision, which is also our next weapon in the C tier. The Uppercut Precision is just an uppercut with a rifle buttstock, while it has significant less sway. Apart from that, it suffers from all the issues that the default uppercut has. The only benefit here that you should keep in mind is that it comes with an incredible reserve ammo pool of 15 bullets, so maybe you wanna run it as a little bullet carrier, but apart from that, I cannot recommend to bring it. Last weapon in the C tier is the Vandal Striker. While the Vandals by themselves are not terrible at all, I simply had to put the Striker into the C tier for the same reason I put the Springfield Striker into the E tier. The Striker attachment is fairly useless, barely one-taps, and only makes your life harder when aiming since something is blocking your vision. Going into the B tier, we're starting off with the Centennial Shorty Silencer. While it is in my opinion one of the strongest silence weapons in the game, I also have to say that the silencer in itself for PvP scenarios isn't as useful. It brings the utility to deal with AI when needed and is incredibly strong when combined with high velocity or dum-dum ammo, but it requires Iron Eye to unlock its full potential, and I think its bigger brother, the Centennial Shorty without a silencer, is much stronger and should be preferred in most scenarios. In the B tier we have our first shotgun, the Rival. The Rival sadly is the lowest ranked shotgun in my opinion out of all the medium slot shotguns, because when I played it, it was fairly disappointing and I quite often didn't manage to one-tap, even though you can achieve one-taps up to 9 and 10 meters quite easily. It simply didn't feel as good as the other medium slot options. The next weapon is the Springfield Bullseye, formerly known as Deadeye. I can highly recommend this rifle since, especially in combination with high velocity bullets, you achieve a very high muzzle velocity, which helps a lot to get those long range entry kills, especially when combined in rifle loadouts or high fire rate weapons. I can highly recommend this tiny marksman rifle. Next in line is the Vandal Bullseye, which also lands in the B tier for all the same reasons. Sadly, it has a little bit of an earlier bullet drop starting point, but apart from that, it's a very solid pick for long range entries. The last weapon in the B tier is the Hunting Bow. The Hunting Bow got buffed and has a very strong one-tap range, but that was never the issue that the bow had in my opinion. The bow's problem is its lack of mobility. When you have your arrow fully drawn out, it is hard to push a building in close quarter combat, which is why it often gets outperformed in close quarter combat against other shotguns unless you're able to make the enemy push you. It is still ranked in the B tier due to utility reasons. For example, frag bows and concertina bows are incredibly strong and you should definitely give them a try. But even though the one-tap range on the bow got buffed, and even though the bow's one-tap range got buffed significantly, with 100 hands up to 35 meters, it is still not enough to rank it any higher than the B tier, since like I said already, the one-tap range was never the bow's issue to begin with. Going into the A tier. In the A tier we're starting off with the Centennial Shorty. The Centennial Shorty is incredibly strong as a secondary rifle. Especially in combination with high velocity, it really slaps. I would recommend using RNI, but apart from that, if you're looking for a mini rifle to bring with your shotgun, for example, this weapon will allow you for some very long range accurate headshots when needed. The next weapon is the Obras. I put the Obras and the Obras mace together since they basically are the same weapon. Everything that I said about the Shorty applies to the Obras. On top of that, it does one tap to the chest once you have downed a player already, which is a nice little side effect. It is still a Mosin and will be in the A tier. I would have put those guns into the S tier category, but one other variant simply outperforms those two options, which is why they're currently in the A tier. The next weapon in line in the A tier is the Vandal. The Vandal, for the same reasons as the Centennial Shorty, will be in the A tier. It's a very solid rifle to run with a shotgun or a close range loadout, especially in combination with high velocity bullets. I can highly recommend it. You can also lever it, which should not be underestimated. Give it a try. Medium slot rifles are actually incredibly good now. The next shotgun in line is the Spectre Shorty. The Spectre Shorty was a surprise to me. While I personally don't really like the big brother, the full range Spectre, I gotta say the small Spectre Shorty surprised me. It has incredibly reliable one-taps up to like 10, maybe even 11 meters, and doesn't feel clunky at all. Give it a try. The only downside is that you kinda need bullet grubber or you're gonna constantly lose bullets, but apart from that, it is a very, very solid pick. In the S tier, to no surprise, we have the Bornheim match. You've seen it a lot in my past videos, and in my opinion the Bornheim match brings everything to the table you would like in your secondary. It has incredibly high fire rate, a very good bullet drop range, a little mini stripper clip reload, and is also kinda cheap. Honestly, there have been days where I rather ran 2 medium slot weapons instead of a big and a small one, simply due to me wanting to run the Bornheim. It is that good, and you should definitely give it a try, and a lot of people in my opinion are sleeping on it. I personally prefer it with fire ammo, but any ammo type on this weapon actually is incredibly strong. The next weapon in the S tier, by no surprise, is the Doge Precision. The Doge Precision has always been one of the number one S tier secondaries in the entire game. It combines high fire rate with good damage, FMJ bullets and a stripper clip reload, which simply is the body tap variant to the Bornheim match. While the Bornheim match is more meant for headshots, the Doge Precision can easily 2-tap your enemies when needed. The next weapon in line is the Sword of Drilling, hatchet or normal. With the addition of high velocity ammo, this gun is super strong for precise long range shooting. It also has a little shotgun to go along with, which either increases your ammo count on your main rifle or can be a nice little tool to push a building. Overall, super solid, should be given a try. I never liked it before this update, because I felt like you kinda need to run medium ammo rifles with special ammo, and Dum Dum and FMJ simply dropped the velocity a little bit too much down for my taste, but in combination with high velocity, this little rifle is an absolute unit and you should give it a try. The next shotgun is the Romero Hatchet or the Romero Hand Cannon. While anybody who watched my Tierlist videos, I have ranked the Romeros fairly low in the large slot shotgun tier list. When it comes to small slots, the Romero is actually the GOAT. Because what are you looking for when you're bringing a small shotgun as your secondary? You want to push a building and you need that first hit to count. You need a reliable one-tap. And the Romero provides that. If you miss your shot, it's probably over anyways, because you have to get really close to your enemy. But the Romero Hatchet simply outperforms all other shotguns when it comes to one-taps, and I'm always mind-boggled by the amount of work I can get done with this little secondary. The next in line is the Terminus Shorty. The Terminus Shorty, in combination with levering, is incredibly strong. While it definitely lacks the one-tap capability in comparison to the Romero, it makes up with fire rate. You can simply keep on shooting and aim punch your enemy while they're not really being able to fight back. Keep in mind, levering is needed. When there is no levering involved, this shotgun is fairly useless and should not be played. Also, as a little side note, there's a little Easter egg reload animation in there where you spin the gun like the Terminator, so definitely give it a try. The last weapon in the S tier is the Mosin Obrus Extended. While it is doing the same thing as the other Obruses, which would usually have been in the S tier, this gun comes with a drum magazine of 15 bullets and on top of that has 10 reserve bullets. So you have overall 25 long ammo bullets to shoot at your enemy, which is incredibly strong, and simply due to that, it is ranked in the S tier and ranked higher than the Obrus Mace or the default Mosin Obrus. That was it with my secondary tier list. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, this tier list only shows which weapons are objectively speaking better than others. The beauty of Hunt Showdown is that you can make every weapon work. You can win with a Springfield Shorty against the Dode's Precision if you do land a headshot first. But, like I said, that is it. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about it, and I will talk to you guys next time.